till yesterday the topics. We are done with all the core Java important topics. Okay. There are few things which I didn't cover, and I am expecting you to go through that. So the first thing is generics, which is very important. Okay. So without generics, we may not be able to write code now, and possible go through all the collections API, um, and new methods. There are so many methods are added in collections. New methods in collection. So when I said collection, you should go to list, set. When I said list, it internally tell you array list, right? Linked list. Yeah. And when I said set, hash set, linked hash set, and very important is map. Map get enhanced little one point. Okay. And multi-threading, yeah, I request you to go to computable features, right? And what else is new? JDK 1.8. Yeah, write as many as lambda expressions. Okay, and more about functional interfaces. So I covered this, right? Function and predicate, but I didn't cover. I covered consumer and supplier, right? But I didn't cover by consumer, by predicate, by function, nothing like by supplier. Okay. So, so I expect you to go through um, all these versions of by. So by is the thing, but it accepts two parameters instead of one parameter. That is the only difference. Okay. So just go through few examples. There are so many tutorials are available online. All these you have to go through. So there is no difference, much difference. Function takes one argument, by function takes two arguments. Predicate takes one argument, and by predicate takes two arguments. Consumer takes one argument, and by consumer takes two arguments. That is the only difference. Return type will not change. Okay. Similarly, we also have int predicate. So this is primitive version of predicate class. Okay. So we don't need any boxing or no auto boxing or auto unboxing. So just get refresh on these topics. Just a second, please. I'm pinging these details on Zoom chat. Have a reference. Okay. Please take it, these details. You can take these details from Zoom chat. Okay. So today we're gonna start Maven or Maven. Okay. So this is actually a build tool. Okay. This is actually a build tool. So this is from Apache. Right. So before Apache, before Maven, from Apache we used to have one more tool, right? What was that?
And
yes, exactly.
and
And we also have Eve.
IVY.
IVUY. Uh,
IVY.
just one. Okay. I thought it's E. Yeah. So this is next version of that. And, the very best version is Maven. They also introduced Gradle. Okay. So this is some kind of scripting, not not XML configuration. So and Maven, EV, all these scripts are XML based. Okay. But whereas Gradle is not XML based. Okay. So this is some kind of scripting language, but it's fine. Whatever we can achieve with the Gradle, we can achieve with Maven. So there is no much difference between Maven and Gradle. But when we compare with Ant and Maven, there are so many differences. Okay, there are so many differences. Okay, so yeah, any questions? Okay, so why we need a build tool?
Now, so many other build tools are there. No, Bamboo, Jenkins.
No,
What about those?
Jenkins is not a build tool. It is an automation tool. It can't build your application.
Ah,
So it is kind of,
okay. Bamboo is there. No, Bamboo is a build script.
yeah, there are so many are there. For example, to get all the details, what we can do something like this: collections, jar, 11. See, these many different build scripts are available. Maven, Gradle,
Mm-hmm.
SPT, EV, Grape. What is it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is builder. So like this, there are so many uh, build tools are available, but Maven is one of the best one. Okay, Maven is one of the best
Okay.
out of all this. Yeah, so it is all comfortability since day one. Which tool you are working with, that you feel comfortable. Other than that, all will be having the same functionality. Yeah. So all these tools will help us. All these are build tools only. All these tools will help us uh, focus on the business logic, right? Instead of focusing on dependency management, instead of focusing on application building process, it will help us to focus directly on business logic. You go and develop your business logic, the remaining things will be taken care by your build tool. So it's going to take care all your dependencies, right? For example, you want to write a REST service. Without build tool, it will take 2 to 3 days to write one simple service. But with the build tool, the effort will reduce a lot. Okay, so it is just a matter of nowadays, right? It is just matter of 15 minutes. If you want to write a simple REST service, it is just a matter of 15 minutes. Okay, so it is not just because of only build tool. It is also it is also like build tool also it's one it's part of the process improvement. Okay, so without build tool, there is no project can be there in the real world, right? If you go and see any project, whether a small company like who work 4 or 5 employees, or a big company like 2 to 3 lakhs employees are working for that company. From A to Z, every company will use a build tool. So which build tool we use, it is depends upon. Okay, so we cannot say that okay, you have to use Maven or you have to use Gradle. It's not like that. It is depends upon their interest. Okay, but all build tools will have the same features. There is no difference. So having knowledge on any one build tool is enough. You don't need to learn all the build tools. Any one build tool knowledge is enough to develop your application. But most of the applications, right? Most of the projects I see is we use Maven. So there are so many benefits we will get it. The very first benefit is uh, project. build, like for example, how we going to deploy our applications into a server. The Java application, how it will be getting deployed, either a jar file or a var file or EAR, right? So we, as a developer, we write Java files, okay? Then these Java files has to be converted into .loss files, right? So somebody has to compile these Java files, and we have to convert all the Java files into .loss files, and all these .loss files has to be packaged as a jar file or var file or EAR. Okay, so EAR is very old nowadays. No EAR. This used to be like 1990s coding style or 2000s. People started deploying wireframes from 2000 to 2010 or 2015. But now all are jar deployments just because of this microservices and Spring Boot compatibility. Right? Just because of microservices. In a generic terminology, no Spring, right? So just because of these microservices deployments, now all deployments are jar, right? So whenever you're deploying a jar file, there are so many things has to be taken care, right? So the first process is converting Java file into .loss file. That is the first process, and the next process is these .loss files has to be compressed and generate a jar file. Along with compressing our .loss file, if your project has any configuration, right? So so this configuration can be anything. It can be a properties file, or it can be some XML configuration, or it can be some YAML configuration, right? Etc. 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 So any kind of configuration has to be there in your jar, right? That is one thing. So along with .loss file packaging, it also needs to uh, uh, convert, it also needs to package the configuration. And along with that, sometimes whenever we are working with SOAP XML, SOAP web services, what you have to do, you may need to generate Java files from XSD. Okay, you may need to generate a Java file from WSDL. Now we are not using WSDLs. Most of the time we are doing with XSDs. So we need to generate Java files from XSD. So it is just matter of adding a plugin, simple plugin copy paste in terms of Maven. Okay, it will generate n number of Java files from that XSD. So how you define your XSD based on that XSD file definition, right? Declaration. Your plugin will generate those many number of Java files. Okay, so it is just matter of adding a plugin, and sometimes you want to use a different Java version, right? Your jar file has to run on a particular Java version, so that is just matter of adding a one line of code. It is just matter of adding one line of code um, in your Maven configuration. So like this, based on your requirement, you can do n number of things. Not only compressing and creating a jar file. So it can also wrap your configuration. It can also generate Java files from XSD. It can also specify a particular Java version you want to run your application. And biggest challenge is dependency management. Okay. Yeah. At this point of time, this word is something new which we can't able to understand. It's fine. But end of the session, when we go to the slide number 11, you will be able to understand what is this dependency management. So dependency management is one of the biggest challenge for the projects, especially when we are working with an application like Spring Boot, right? A technology like Spring Boot, whenever we are working with the technology, dependency management is a big hectic. So those kind of problems can be solved very easily with the build. Either it can be Maven or Gradle or something else, but the dependency management is going to be, it's a piece of cake. You know, without the build tool, we can't even imagine how you're gonna develop that project. It is not at all possible. You know, you will get hundreds of class not found exceptions, hundreds of no such method exceptions. I hope you got remembered, right? When we will get no class not found exception, and when we will get no such method exception. We discussed already, right? So you will struggle a lot without build tool. Writing a microservice is not at all easy task. It's going to be a nightmare. You know, you can't even imagine you can develop a single microservice without any build tool. Okay, so the main challenge is dependency management. Because to write a simple service, one line of say hello, simple microservice, internally it uses like 20 to 30 dependencies at very high level. If you drill down, it may use more than 50 jars in the background. And all the jars will have a particular, um, all the jars will have a particular version dependency. So you must remember all those dependency structure, and if you use a wrong version, it will start throwing exceptions, and you can't even imagine, you know. So, but with the dependency management, it is just a matter of like 10 to 15 minutes at max to write a says hello simple web service. It is just 10 to 15 minutes maximum. Okay. So that's how these builder tools will help us writing our applications. Okay, so that is what the benefit we are going to get using builder tool. So Maven is one of them. Maven is not only one builder tool. Maven is one out of all these builder tools. Okay, so as like how we installed Java, right? Like how we are using Java, we are installing Java, right? Without Java installation, we can't use it. Java in our coding, right? Like how we are using Eclipse, we are installing Eclipse, right? So how we are using Git? Git is a repository. So if you don't know, then still it is fine. So till now we discussed Java and Eclipse, right? So how we are using the softwares? Just because we installed this software. Similarly, Maven also an installable software. You have to install. Okay. So there are two types of installations. One is if you are working on a system where you are not doing a development, right? You are not doing a development, so you can consider like no dev environment and dev environment. So what is a dev environment? Our local system, right? So dev environment is nothing but in terms of project development. So it is your local system. So here in no dev environment, we have to install the Maven. You have to install. But when it is coming to the dev environment, Maven installation is completely optional. Okay. So nowadays, with the latest versions of your IDE, okay, Maven installation is completely optional. You no need to install a Maven. Can somebody say how? I'm saying Maven installation. It's a not required at all, not even optional. It's a not required. How? Without installing Maven, how could we use Maven in our local?
Using Maven jars.
No?
Embedded plugins might be embedded in the latest IDE.
ID.
Exactly.
ID
So these days, all IDEs are getting inbuilt, embedded Maven. You know, they have an embedded Maven installed in your plugin itself. Let's take an example of Eclipse. Let it get start. Meanwhile, okay. So these days, all your plugins, or sorry, IDEs are embedded with Maven. Okay. So to work, to develop any project, you no need to install Maven. But in the olden days, you know, uh, uh, when I started my career, like initially, I used to install the Maven. Okay, so that time the IDEs are may not. I mean, Eclipse, especially Eclipse, you know, it doesn't have a Maven plugin in it. But now they understood, you know, Maven Eclipse itself is coming up with a lot of lot of inbuilt embedded plugins. So to check whether your IDE has Eclipse has Maven or not, go click on help, um, click on about Eclipse IDE. Okay, so these are the set of plugins which are by defaultly available with my Maven. So you can cross check, right click on your, sorry, click on help, go to about Eclipse IDE. If you are able to see this plugin, right, .m2. So sorry, not the .m2, this M2, right? So this is the plugin which is by default available with my Eclipse version. Okay, so almost on these days, not actually these days, like almost on like since 2 to 3 years onwards. So Eclipse is an embedded default by default. Sorry, Maven is embedded by default with Eclipse. Okay, so not only with Eclipse, uh, another most powerful tool which is IntelliJ IDE. This also has an embedded Maven, so we no need to install Maven. Okay, STLs also will have Maven install. So almost all the IDEs, okay, Eclipse, IntelliJ IDE, Spring Tool Suite, STS, all these IDs are embedded with Maven by defaultly, so we no need any explicit installation. You can directly start working with Maven. Okay, so this is the icon for Gradle, right? This elephant. So somehow I think this is disabled. I believe we need to enable this plugin. Okay, so if you are working on any Gradle, so check whether this plugin is installed or not. If this plugin is installed, then you don't need to install Gradle also. Okay, so similarly, there is something called Git. This is Cloud Foundry. I don't know why these people are embedded with Cloud Foundry. But Git plugin also we have. This is org. Yeah, this is the Git. Yeah, eGit, right? So this icon, if your Eclipse has this icon, so you can directly start working with Git. You don't need any explicit Git installed on your system. Okay, so we don't need any extra softwares to start working with Maven or Gradle or Git with the latest versions of Eclipse or IntelliJ IDE or STS. Okay, but when we are working in a non-developed environment, something like your build environment, right? For example, your Jenkins environment or your dev environment or your QA environment. So those environments we most not we may not have Eclipse installed. We may not have IntelliJ IDE installed, right? So most probably we will be doing a commands, right? We will be doing a commands Maven installation, right? Or we will be doing commands application runs. So that time you have to install Maven. Okay, so in your dev environment, if you wanted to do a Maven build, then you need to install Maven. In your Jenkins server, if you want to build your application, then you need to install Maven. Jenkins also nowadays they develop the Maven plugin, so there also it become optional. Okay, so these places you need to install Maven, but especially in the development environment, right? The IDEs, wherever the developers are using IDEs, there the Maven installation is completely optional. Okay, so the standard installation is very pretty. I mean, it's pretty simple. You go and download the zip file and extract it and start using it. So that zip file is going to have a bin folder. Let me check whether I have that software in my local or not. No. Server, 4 days. There's no folder for software. So no, I don't have standalone Maven installed on my system. Okay. So if you want to install Maven, just go to Google and type Maven installation. Install Windows 10. Maven.apache.org. Go and download the latest version. So they are giving some comments. You click on the download, but this is completely optional. As a developer, you no need to install it. Okay, because your IDE is itself is already having the Maven installed defaultly. This is completely optional. Yeah, you just download this zip file and it will have a bin folder. You just extract it and start using that Maven directly. Okay, so that's how we're going to install. But for developer, it is completely optional. Okay, done. Still, I mean, till now we are able to understand what is the benefits we are going to get and what is the, I mean, how we going to install the software. So from here, no more theory. Let's start creating one Maven project and understand uh, the things now. Okay. So if you want, you can start doing parallelly with me. Let me close all this. Those projects. Okay. Yep. So I'm going to create first Maven project. Okay. Go to File, click on New. So if you are able to see Maven option here directly, it is fine. If you are not able to see the Maven option, click on Other. So in the filter section, type Maven. Okay, so there are multiple options are available. Check out Maven project from SCM or check out Maven module or Maven project. So this we will discuss later. Okay, this is going to be our last topic. For now, select Maven project, click Next. Okay, so where do you want to create your Maven project? So if I don't specify any path location, it will create a default, it will create in our default workspace location. So I want to create this in my E drive workspaces. Okay, I want to create here. Okay, click next. Okay, this is a very important thing which we have to understand very carefully. Okay, so is everybody with me? Say yes, or
Yes,
you
Sunil.
guys are sleeping.
Yes,
No,
Sunil.
yes, Sunil.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
so this is very important thing, archetype. Okay, so what is this archetype? Which will help us to define what type of application we are going to develop. Okay, so there are so many types of projects we can develop. You can develop a very simple plain Java project also. Okay, you can start with a simple Java project, which in terms we call it as quick start. Okay, or sometimes you may need to develop a web application, a plain Java web application, no string dependency. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do in your real-time project. Okay, even for your microservices development also, you will start with the web application. Okay, okay, so or we will start with a simple project. This is what we're gonna do. These two options we will use in real-time project. I will tell you why. Due to security reasons, we will select only these two, first or second. But in your local practice, you can also develop a Spring Boot application. Okay. So similarly, we have n number of archetypes. So archetype, which is nothing but, so we are giving some kind of information to the man and saying that, okay, I want this kind of project. I want a quick start, simple Java project, or I want a Java web application project, or I want to start a Spring Boot application. Right? So similarly, there are n number of archetypes are available. Most probably, we will be doing these things very frequently. Spring Boot application, web application, simple application. But in your project, we will do first two, one two. We can't do a Spring Boot application due to some security reasons. I will tell you why later. Okay, but in your local, you can do this. We don't have any filters, right? So we can start. I mean, once we start developing Spring applications, you will start with Spring Boot application. So to develop a Spring Boot application, you can select Spring Boot, blank archetype, or Docker, Jersey. Right? You can develop. You can select whatever you want to develop. But as I said, let's start with the quick start simple project that should be from Apache. Let me do this. Let's select no quick start. It's just simple. Maven Central. Where is Apache? Yeah, Apache simple. Okay, so this is our simple Java web application. Simple Java application, not even web application. Very plain core Java application. Okay, very plain core Java application will be created. So arch type is very important. Okay, so arch type is very important. So arch type is nothing but what type of project you're gonna develop. Okay, what type of project you're gonna develop. See somewhere here I can see .NET. I'm seeing this for first time. Because I think we can develop a .NET application also using that. Okay, but we're gonna start with a very simple Java application, Maven Archetype Simple. Click on next, so that it will download the required libraries to start your Java application. Okay, so these things also we need to be very careful while defining group ID, artifact ID, version, and package. Group ID, artifact ID, version, and package. Okay. Okay. So group ID is nothing but in real time application, it should be your domain plus subdomain. Most of the time, it's going to be your domain and subdomain. So let's take an example of Spring. So how Spring people are they define group ID, right? So they define like this: org Spring Framework. Okay, org Spring Framework dot and their subdomain. For example, if you develop a Spring Boot application, then the subdomain is boot. If you develop an application of AOP, then the subdomain is going to be AO. And if you're gonna develop a subdomain like cloud, it's going to be cloud. Okay, so this is how they define the group ID. So this is the best practice. Okay, so this is the world best practice. So your group ID is nothing but domain plus subdomain. Okay, and artifact ID, which is nothing but your project name. Okay, artifact ID, which is nothing but your project name. So what project you want to develop? If you want to develop a e-commerce application, so with respect to AWS or something else, then you have to give a particular name, right? So in microservices, these will be like something like this. For example, sometimes it sounds like profile, sometimes it sounds like cart, sometimes it sounds like product. Okay, so for each and every functionality, we will write a separate service, separate project. So that's why most of the times the artifact sounds like this: profile, cart, product, okay, billing, okay, shipping, with respect to uh, microservices. So the project, the artifact ID sounds like this. So for each and every activity is going to have a separate project. That's why we used to see like this in the microservices. So profile have separate artifact ID, which is nothing but separate project. Cart will have a separate artifact ID, which is nothing but separate project. Billing will have separate. Payment will have separate. Shipping will have separate. Right. So like this, so the project artifact ID will be defined. The version is going to be vary from company to company. So they maintain the versions usually separate. Okay, but in standards we will have something like this: snapshot, release, Okay, GA. So whenever you are seeing any software with the version snapshot, which means it is under development. So don't use snapshots in your project. At least try to use release. Okay. So this is study for. I mean, this can be used, but the most recommended version is GA. So this is the most stabilized version. Okay, so the same thing can be found in any application. Usually, where we maintain the standards. Let's go to Spring projects and go to any particular project. See here we have details, right? So we have GA, we have snapshot. So don't ever try to use these snapshots because they will get change keyboard, because snapshot means they are still under development. So it is not ready to use. They are doing, they keep on do the enhancement. So the same thing is even applicable for our project also, right? For example, you're developing something, then you have to maintain snapshot. Okay, so whatever version you're gonna maintain, it's up to you. You maintain 1 or you maintain 2 dot something, 2.14 or something like that, right? But if it is under development, then you have to maintain snapshot. That is the best practice. Once you think, okay, all your development is done, testing done, you want to move your code to production, then you have to change your versions from snapshot to release. Okay, so if somebody wants to use your code or your dependency, right, your project, somebody consuming your your code, then ask them to use the release version, not the snapshot version. So snapshot means which is under development. So there is no guarantee how the code is going to behave. Okay, and whenever you are going to use any software like Spring or some other third-party software, so make sure you will be using release. Okay, so right now we are developing. That's why I'm leaving as Disney snapshot. So I'm going to use org Spring framework. I'm going to give the subdomain as local or MSK. Okay, so we are going to develop our first project, right? So what should what name I can give? Can I give simple Maven or Maven demo? Okay, so this is my project, and yeah, so this is the package I want actually. Okay, this is the package I want inside my project. So click finish. So your Eclipse will able to create a project for you. Okay, if you are getting any errors, fine, you can leave them. Yeah, there we go. So the project is created. Due to some conflicts of my Eclipse, the project structure, it's not created fully. That is fine, but we are okay, right? Right. At least we are able to create some project. Okay. So whenever you are create a project, you could able to see some folder structures, right? The SRC main, site, test, target, form.txt. Right? So these are the very important things we must know and we must understood what are they those and why we need them. Okay. So let's start with the form.xml. So are we guys are clear till now? So these things we discussed, right? So what is the first thing we discussed? Arch type. Very important thing is arch type, and the next one is group ID, and the next one is artifact ID. I will ask few questions in couple of minutes. Okay. So at the time of discussing dependency resolution, we will discuss about these things. Group ID, artifact ID, and then version. In version we discussed snapshot, release, GA, right? So these are the things we discussed. Now we are going to discuss about form.xml file. Very, 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 very important. Without form.xml file, you can't write Maven project. Without form.xml file, you can't write Maven. So how we have a form.xml file for Maven? Similarly, we will have one more configuration file for add. So which is nothing but form.xml file is nothing but a roadmap. You know, if you go to
Builder.
hunt, yeah. So this is going to be builder. Yeah, you're okay. So if you're going to hunt a treasure, right, you need a roadmap, right? Roadmap. So similarly, how Maven is going to do the tasks just because of this form.xml file, this is going to be your roadmap. So without form.xml file, you can't do anything. Okay. So without form.xml file, you can't do anything. If you so if you have form.xml file, you can do everything. So similarly, how we have form.xml file for Maven, we also have build.xml file for Ant. Gradle also will have some file. So I think it's build.gradle. Okay, so build.gradle file. So similarly, when you are working with some other build tools, they have their own configuration file. So when it is coming to Maven, the configuration file is form.xml, POM, and it's going to be small in case. Letters are in small case, POM.xml. Okay, so you can ask me, can it be a form.xml for all the time, or can we define a different name?
Always form.xml only.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. But we can customize. You know, if you want to give, you can give your own name, but it requires a lot of changes, right? It requires a lot of configuration. So instead of we focusing on business logic, what is the benefit you're going to get if you change a file, right? That is the reason why the world is using form.xml file as this. If
Okay.
you want to do, you can do a change, but it's a waste of time. What is the benefit we're going to get if you change the name of the XML file, configuration file to form to some other? So that's why they don't do the changes. Okay. So for now, yeah, we can say, yeah, it's going to be form.xml file. Okay. So we must understood each and every tag in this form.xml. Okay. We must understood each and every tag in this form.xml file. Okay. So the project, the tag, let's remove this. So the line number 1, which starts with a project, right? The tag which starts with the project. This is killing. Okay, so which starts with a project. So this is going to be your root tag. Okay, the project which you are writing in your home. It can be a small village, right? It can be a small village in India, or it can be a Silicon Valley. The root tag will not change. If you're going to sit write a project using Maven in Silicon Valley, or you're going to sit in a village, right? In India, there is no difference. Or in Africa, right? Or the most dangerous place in the world. What is that country?
Province. China. Hubei province.
Oh
Oh,
man, oh man. It's not China. There is some country, the world's most dangerous country.
yeah, someplace all crimes happen, right?
Ah, yeah. So if you go and
Somalia?
yeah, right, Somalia. Yes, the world most dangerous country, right?
But for now he is Hubei province.
Yeah. Okay. So if you
Wuhan.
go, yeah, if you're gonna sit in that location and write a Maven project, or you're gonna sit in a you're gonna sit in Silicon Valley and write a project, it is not going to change. This is going to be your root tag. Okay. So root tag means that is what the starting point. Okay. So inside the root tag, can you ask me, is this thing going to be same for all the projects? No. Depends upon your project requirement. The format.xml file will change. Okay. So just now we discussed group ID, which is nothing but your domain and subdomain, and artifact ID, which is nothing but your project name. See, whatever we gave here, whatever the name we gave here, that's going to be visible as your project name. Okay, so be very careful while giving your artifact ID. Okay, so you should follow some standards like all the words should be small in case, all the letters should be in the small in case, and if you want to give any separation, right? For example, if I write something like this Maven demo, the readability is not that much good. If you give, if you separate with hyphen, then we will have good readability. So where you feel you want to improve the readability, use hyphens, not underscores or not dots. Okay, not underscores or not dots, use hyphens. Version, as I already said, if you use development, then use snapshot. Once all the development done, you want to move your code to production, then change the snapshot to release. Then some name, some meaningful name to your project. Some description, what does it do? It is as we are doing a simple demo, that's why I'm giving simple thing. URL is completely optional. Okay. Properties we will discuss later. Let's quickly killing me. What is going on? Okay. Yeah, this properties we will discuss later. Okay, so dependencies, which are very important things which we have to understand as we going to learn Spring Boot. Okay, and build. Okay, next the last one is reporting. This is completely optional. Can be removed. Yeah, so these are the things by default available.
Sunil, I have a question.
Yeah.
So it's actually related to properties. So the thing is, when it's creating a Maven project, how does it decide what Java version it has to use?
Usually the archetype which we are using.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So the entire configuration what we are seeing here is going to be generated by the archetype which we are using. You know, if you use a Spring Boot archetype, there are few dependencies will automatically added by your will added into your form.xml file. So who is going to add? It's going to be your archetype. So archetype will take the decision what are all the folders has to be created and what are all the configuration has to be there in your form.xml. That's why I said archetype is very important.
Okay. Because my Eclipse has the Java version of 1.8, but I'm seeing it's creating 1.7. Is it that selecting that project, it will always do 1.7 no matter what the Java version is for the Eclipse?
No, it is depends upon the archetype you selected. If you select a simple type, right? Simple archetype, then the simple archetype configured with the JDK 1.7.
Okay.
Okay, so that entire configuration is present inside archetype. So you cannot guarantee that all the time your project is going to be generated with JDK 1.7. No. Okay, so if you use simple archetype for now, maybe tomorrow they will release one more latest version of archetype that can be with JDK 1.8. Okay,
Oh,
so
okay. Got it.
right now today the simple archetype generates JDK 1.7 supportable projects.
Okay. But we can always change the form version if
Yes,
I want to use 1.8, right?
yeah, you can.
Okay.
Okay, you can
Okay,
change.
got it.
Yes, yeah. So by right now my project has dependency of JUnit. Okay, so whenever you generate a simple archetype, there is one default JUnit will be written automatically by your archetype app test.java. Okay, so it will generate some default test cases for my project. Okay, and here it is using JUnit dependencies, right? So how my project is using dependencies, right? This is not my class, JUnit framework test. So when I click on this class, so, so when I click on this test. If you are facing this kind of problem, reinstall your Eclipse. Failed to transfer. The problem is my antivirus is blocking this. Let me stop this for a few minutes. Protection, portions, web shield. Stop for 1 hour. Okay. Okay, fine. So right now, due to some problems, I'm not able to get download this jar file, but it's fine. It will work later. Okay, if I do a clean install, it will work. Okay, so I'm using some dependencies in my project. Right, I'm using JUnit Java file. So how I'm using JUnit Java files? It is just because of dependencies. So it is just because of dependencies. Tomorrow, if I want to use a Spring jar file in my local, so what should I do? It is just a matter of adding one more dependency in my form.xml. So one more dependency in my form.xml. So automatically form.xml file will download the dependency. Automatically form.xml file will download the dependency. Sorry, not form.xml file. Maven will download the dependency and will maintain that dependencies, right? That's what we call it as dependency management. So it is just a matter of adding a dependency in your form.xml. So your Maven will automatically download the dependencies, and it's going to maintain the dependencies. Now, 1 second, let me check why I'm facing this problem using life cycle. Okay, I'm going to delete this project and let me recreate it. 5 new other Maven project. Click next. Let's create a current working folder itself. We're going to choose Apache Central. Where's the ORG Apache? Yeah, quick start. Next. Demo. Okay, so sorry. Maven demo 1. Okay, see now the libraries are downloading very fastly. Earlier, I have some problem with this one, software. Avast. If you also face the same issue, just stop your antivirus for a few minutes. Okay. See, now there are no errors, right? See, the project structure also changed a lot when we compare with last time and this time. See, these many jars are we are using internally. All are getting downloaded, right? So these many jars are we are using internally. Okay, so yeah, to add one more dependency, it is just matter of adding one more dependency in your form.xml. See, this time the form.xml file looks a little different, right? Last time it looks different, and this time it looks different, right? Why? Because this time we used a different arch type. This time we used a quick start. Last time we used a simple, right? So we must use simple actually, not the quick start. Simple is recommended for Java, core Java project, you know. So it is depends upon what arch step you are using. It is matter of what arch step you are using. So right now we don't need all these dependencies. So or we will create one more project. It's fine. Okay. So that's how the pom.xml file looks like, and where is it? Yeah. So that is what we use with the pom.xml. Okay. I hope we understood all the elements, right? We understood the dependency section except these properties. Okay. Build is nothing but configuration of generating your jar file or var file, right? What Java version you want to use. So when I use quick start, it is using 1.5, not even 1.7. It is using JDK 1.5. So all these things are not required. So if you wanted to do a customization, if you wanted to generate a jar file with a different name, right? Or you want to use a different version of JDK. So all those configuration can be defined inside your build uh, element, inside your build element. So we have n number of plugins, right? If you want to generate a jar file with a different name, you can use one plugin, or jar plugins are not one plugin. And if you want to use a different JDK version, right, then you have to use compiler plugin. And if you want to generate XSD files, sorry, Java files from a XSD, then you have to use JAXB plugin. Okay, so for each and every task there is a different plugin available. So depends upon your requirement, we have to use that corresponding plugin. So it's just matter of adding that plugin in your pom.xml file and giving the configuration. For example, I will show you one plugin. Let the Eclipse come up. Yeah, so meanwhile, Spring Boot duplicates. Yeah, so meanwhile, let's continue. So we are clear with the pom.xml file, right? Any questions? Any questions with the pom.xml file? So this is going to be the roadmap for your project. So without pom.xml file, we can't proceed anything. Are we guys are clear?
Yes, Sunil.
Yeah. So we also learn dependencies, right? So dependencies are nothing but what particular dependency you are going to use. Okay. So what particular dependency you are going to use? Do you want to use Spring Boot dependency? Then you have to add Spring Boot. Okay. This exclusion part we will discuss in the future. Okay. For now, you can ignore what is this exclusion is going to do. For now, you can ignore. So for now, what you can understood is whatever dependencies you want to use, that corresponding dependency can be defined inside dependencies tag. So dependencies will have multiple dependency tag. So each dependency is nothing but one dependency is nothing but one jar. Okay. Yeah. So this is a simple project for SOAP web services. This is the pom.xml file. So here we used JAXB2 Maven plugin. So this has one this has its own functionality. So what it does, it's going to generate Java files. It's going to generate Java file. So how it's going to generate Java files? From XSD. So who is going to pass that XSD information? It's a developer, right? It's us. So we have to do. So we need to pass the file name and path where exactly that XSD is there. And if you want to generate a inside a different name, for example, if I don't if I don't pass this package name, what will happen? You know, the package structure is going to be different. So it's going to generate your Java classes inside a default package name. Instead of going with the default package name, if you want to have your own package name, then you have to pass this information. So this is the entire configuration, right? This is the entire configuration. So that's how these plugins are going to be useful. So plugin is nothing but the customization. So whatever is available with the default, you know, for example, if I don't pass the compiler plugin, what do you think? So if I remove this build tag itself, what do you think? Does my Maven project has compiler plugin or not? Yes, it's going to have, whether you define or don't define, right? The basic plugins configuration will always be there. Okay, for example, compiler. Compiler is mandatory, right? Compiler plugin is mandatory. So whether you specify or don't specify, a default plugin is there. But why we are still going with, why we are still defining this plugin? Because customization.
Yeah,
We
our
are
own one.
going, yeah, we are going for the customization. Okay, so similarly for compiler we have plugin, we have jar generation, we have plugin, resource copy we have a plugin, generating Java files from XSD we have a plugin. Okay, code quality Jacopo we have a plugin, Sonar we have a plugin. Okay, so there are n number of plugins are available in the market. You know, like there are thousands of plugins will be available. So you have to identify which plugin is suits for your requirement, and you have to add the plugin in your form directory. Okay, so that is what the job of the plugin. So dependencies, maintaining the dependencies. So here we are developing a Spring Boot application. Let's go to the Spring Boot application. See, here I have added a Spring Boot web services. Because I am developing a Spring Boot SOAP web services, I am adding this dependency. Okay, and this internally use a debless DL jar. That's why I'm adding this dependency. Okay, and here I'm going to write some test cases. That's why I define Spring Boot test. Right? And see the best practice, the world best practice. Domain, ORG Spring Framework is the domain, boot is a subdomain. Inside that, what project you gonna define? I'm developing test project. If you develop a web services project, then it's going to be web service. So which is nothing but whatever the projects we are using as dependencies, are they Maven projects or not?
Yes.
Come on, everybody. So Spring Boot Starter Web Service project is a Maven project or not?
Yes, Maven project.
It is a Maven project, right? So who wrote this Maven project?
Spring people.
Exactly. So this came from Spring, right? So if you go and see, you know, Spring is an open source. The entire source code base is available in GitHub. Go and check your GitHub. You know, there also you look the similar type of project structure. Even there you can identify pom.xml. Okay, so even you can see pom.xml file in Spring project. Okay, so whoever developed the Maven application, the pom.xml file is same, and there also you can see some dependencies tag. There also you can see some properties tag. There also you can see this pair, and we will discuss later. Group ID, artifact ID, version, name, description, you know, and build. Okay, but they have more configuration because they are developing such a big project. They will have more configuration. But whatever we are having in right now in my project, that will be there even in a project who developed by the Spring team. Okay, so that's how the dependencies are going to be added in your
scope we have, right? What are the scopes?
we will discuss when we discuss about life cycle. We will discuss that scope. Okay, yeah, do park that question for a few minutes. Yeah, so now very important thing, how these dependencies are going to be resolved, right? We are adding the dependency, right? We are adding Spring Boot jar, we are adding Spring Boot test jar, starter test, starter web, right? So we are adding so many jars, that is fine, but where are these jars are going to be present? How they are going to be downloaded? Okay, so to understand that, we need to understand a concept called a repository. Okay, so Maven has its own repository structure. There are three different types of repositories are present. One is the local repository, next one is the central repository, and the last one is the remote repository. Okay, So the local repositories are nothing but, I believe, for my knowledge, Windows, Windows I know, but for my knowledge of this one, Mac also will follow the same. Okay, so every system will have a users folder, right? Users. Then inside that your username. For example, if my username is Sunil Kumar, then I will have a folder. Right? Inside my C drive, I'm talking to with respect to Windows. So inside my C drive, I will have a users folder, then my system name, which is Sunil Kumar, right? That is my user ID. So similarly, if you check your, if you are having a Windows system, then go to your C drive. You will be able to see users folder. Inside that, this is your user ID. Okay, one second, guys. Yeah, sorry, I'm back. Okay, so even you can able to see the same in your system also. So this is going to be your user ID. Okay, inside this user ID, as we develop, I hope you all developed a Maven project, right? As we developed one Maven project, you would be able to see .m2 folder. If you're not able to see, just go and enable hidden folders. Sometimes it can be a hidden folder, so you would be able to see .m2. Inside this .m2, you would be able to see repository. So this is what is the default location of local repository. Where is the local repository in your system? See users, your user ID. So this is going to be a dynamic option, right? Your system user ID in Windows. In Mac, I don't know whether the C users will be created or not, but user folder will be created for sure. I saw that inside the user folder, you will be able to see the .m2 folder inside that repository. In Mac, the terminal, you open your terminal, by defaultly it will be opened inside your users folder only. Okay, just check pwd, you would be able to see your users folder, user folder. Inside that you will be able to see .m2. I think it would be hidden. Just you can do command like ls-lrta all, right? Then you would be able to see .m2. So inside .m2, a repository folder will be created automatically. So this repository, which is nothing but your local repository in Mac. Okay? I think the same thing even for um, Linux also, right? Even for Linux also it will be same. There is one user ID folder will be created. Inside that user ID folder, one .m2, then repository. Okay, so here the dependencies will be stored. Okay, here the dependencies will be stored. Very, very important. Right? In my local folder, local repository, all the dependencies will be stored. Whatever I am using in my pom.xml, all the dependencies will be stored. Whatever I am using in my pom.xml. Even the same thing applicable for your Jenkins server also. If you go to your Jenkins server, okay, somewhere you would be able to see this .m2 repository. Somewhere you would be able to see this .m2 repository. If you open this .m2 repository, there are n number of folders. There are n number of folders. Okay, yeah. So all these, if you go just one folder inside, just go inside. Somewhere you would be able to see a jar file. Oh, not that. Let's go to Spring. ORG Spring Framework. Anything. I don't have Java. Spring Framework. Boot. Actuator. starter. Yeah, so this is the jar. Okay, so this is the jar file which is going to be used. So now tell me how Maven is going to map these dependencies. Now you can tell me, okay, yeah, fine. Okay, we have some folder structure. Inside that folder structure, we have some more folders, right? Some org, some blah 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 blah. So I went into some four or five folders inside, and I saw some jar file. Yeah, but how Maven is going to map these jars into my project? How Maven is going to resolve these dependencies? Any idea?
First, it will go and check whether it is available in local.
How? How it will check?
By group ID and the artifact ID.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Group ID, then artifact ID,
Yeah,
then
and the version.
version. Exactly. So this is how the dependencies are going to be resolved. Okay, you said, yeah, whatever you said is correct, Jnana. But the only thing is how Maven is going to check whether this particular jar is present or not. For example, we are using a JUnit jar in our project, right? Yeah, here in this project we are using okay, some kind of jar, org Apache access to ADB, and the version is 1.7.9, right? 1.7.9 jar. So how that is going to be resolved, you know? So it first of all it will verify in your local repository. So by default, this is the local repository. This can be customized. This can be customized. Okay, but for now by default this is the local repository. Inside this local repository, without looking into the folder structure itself, I can say, okay, first there is one folder we created like org. Inside this there is another folder called Apache. Inside this there is another folder called access to, right? Inside this there is another folder will be created, access to hyphen ADB. Inside this, there is another folder will be created with a version 1.7.9. Okay. Inside this, there is a jar file. There is a jar file which present inside this version folder, which is a combination of artifact ID and version 1.7.9 .jar. Okay, so this is how the dependencies are going to be resolved. So look at very carefully, look at this group ID very carefully. What is the separator? Dot, right? So when you define a dot means which is nothing but a separator. So for each separator, a new folder will be created. So by looking into this itself, I am saying, okay, org is one folder, Apache is one folder, access to is another folder. So how I am saying that? Because dot is a separator for each a dot separation, a new folder will be created. Let's see whether whatever we discussed is correct or not. So till here, till repository, it is same. What is the folder? Starting folder org, inside that Apache, inside that access to, right? Org Apache access to, inside that access to ADB. Yes, inside that one more folder 1.7.9. Yes, inside this there is a jar called Apache access to ADB 1.7.9 jar, right? So this is how the Maven is going to resolve the dependencies. Okay, this is how the Maven is going to resolve the dependency. So whenever you are defining a dependency, you have to be very, very, very careful. If you give a wrong, at least one character, if you do a mistake of one character, right, then that dependency will not be downloaded. For example, if I add something dot here and save my file, automatically Maven will create a folder structure called Arch Apache. If it is there, it won't create. If it is not there, it will create. It will create Apache. But inside Apache, we don't have a folder called A, right? But I mistakenly typed this. As soon as I save this, see, there is a folder will be created. Inside that, XIS2 will be created. Okay? Inside this thing, but this jar won't be available, right? This jar won't be available. Then we'll get an error in your form.xml. So we have to be very, 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 very careful while defining the dependencies. So that's why don't type, do a copy paste. That's why don't type anything. Do a copy paste. What the dependency you want is do a copy paste. For example, you are using a string utils class. For example, you are using a string utils class. You don't know what is the jar or Maven dependency. So what you have to do, you have to go and type string utils Maven dependency. Right? If I wanted to use Apache Commons Lang tree, just click on it. It will take you to the Maven repository, and here you can able to see the dependency snippet. You just copy this, paste it into your form.xml, so that there won't be any errors. Okay, so that there won't be any errors. So try to do a copy paste for dependencies, because if you do a small mistake, then the dependency will not be resolved and you will get an error. Okay, so this is how the dependencies will be resolved in a Maven project with respect to the local repository. So now we understood, right? What is local repository? For each mission, for every system, there is a local repository will be created for Maven. So what is this local repository? Whatever the dependencies you define in your form.xml file, Maven will download from, okay, from central repository or remote. We will discuss what is central, what is remote. Okay, Maven will download these dependencies from this point and will keep you, and it will keep a copy in your local repository. It will keep a copy in your local repository. Okay, and if you want to override your local repository, it is just a matter of adding a local repository tag. Local repository tag in form.xml, or else just type form.xml file. The very first link should be, yeah, Maven. So here we will have the complete information of form.xml. Okay, so here we will have the complete information of form.xml file. Okay, I think by using form.xml file, we can't change the local repository. By using settings.xml file, we can change the local repository. We will discuss what is the settings.xml file in few minutes. Okay, in few minutes we will discuss. Okay, I hope you guys are clear with the local repository and how these dependencies are going to be resolved, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now it's time to understand central repository. So central repository, which is nothing but, okay, before that I want to show you something new, other, next, okay. Look at this catalogs. We have Nexus, we have internal, we have Maven, right? So here the Nexus and the Maven centrals are the examples of central repository. Nexus and Maven central. So these are like open for the world. The central repositories are open for the world. Okay, so any developer can access the central repository. Okay, and by defaultly, most of the times you would be downloading it from org.maven. What is the default central repository? We will be pointing org.maven.repository. Okay, for example, here, right? For example, if I change this to 1.7.8, as soon as I save this file, look at very carefully at my progress or console section, there would be one jar file will be downloaded. Yeah. See, report.maven.apache. So it's fine. My internet is pretty fast. I see, but sometimes you would able to see, right? HTTPS or report.maven.apache.org, right? From here, my dependencies are downloading. Would you able to see?
Yes, Sunil.
Everybody saw or not? Right?
Yes.
So that is, yeah. So that is a central repository. It's open for everybody. It's open for everybody, right? You can, if you have an internet and you create a Maven project, so automatically the dependencies will be downloaded for the central repository. So how this is going to be available, because that is the default configuration. Okay, what is the default configuration? But in your project, in your company, you can't download the jars from the central repository due to security reasons. They will block access to the central repository and they will create a remote repository. For each and every project, there is one, for each and every company, there is should be one remote repository. So it will have so many filters, proxies, right, firewalls. So it won't have all the jars like how we have in the Maven central repository. So here we will have only which the jars which are secure. Okay, if any jar has security violations, right, violation that may not be available. So that is the reason why whenever you create a Maven project, what you used to do in most of the times, you do some kind of configuration of repository. You used to do some kind of configuration, okay, called repository. Okay. So in your company, you would be using remote repository to download the dependencies. In your local system, you would be using the central repository. Okay, central repository is open for all, that is a public. If you upload any jar file in central repository, that is accessible for every person. But if you upload any jar which is a remote repository, that is going to be accessible only for that particular company, for that particular uh, group. Okay, so in companies we use remote repositories. In local development, in your local personal PC, you will use central repository. Local repository will be there in every system. Okay, that cannot be skipped. So central repository only for your personal PCs. Remote repository for companies. Remote repository for companies. So companies will go and purchase some space in these central repositories. Okay, Nexus or Maven or JFrog, right? So these are the open central libraries. They usually our company will go and buy some space, and so that the company will create a local remote repository for us with a few securities. Okay, so they will allow only few groups. They will allow only whitelisted IP members. Only those systems can download the jar files from that repository. Like that, there are few securities they will enable, and they will create a remote repository. So most of the companies, like 99.99%, you would be able to see this report repository in your company. Okay. So whatever you are seeing the URL, that you may not be able to see in your company, right? Whatever the URL you are seeing in your local system, that you may not be able to see in your company. So in your company, the URL is going to be different. So how you going to define that URL? You will have some tab called repositories. So inside this repository tab, you will define your repository and that URL, particular URL, and if it is required any username, password, explicit username, password, you define. If it works with a single sign-on, then you don't have to define the username and password. Okay. Now it's time to understand. I hope you guys are clear what is central repository and what is remote. Both are same, but the only difference is central repository is public, can be accessed by anybody, no security. But whereas the remote repository is secure. Okay, in companies we will have remote repositories. In your local systems we will have central repository. So whatever the jars in your local repository, all those jars are going to be downloaded either from central repository or from remote repository. Either any one of the repository from either any one of the repository, we will download it into local repository. Okay, so these are the terms called repositories. Okay, yeah. So however you have this folder structure, the same way the remote repository and central repository also will have the same. How you are seeing the folder structure, right? org, Apache, access to the same folder structure will be maintained even in the central repository and remote repository. Whether it is a local repository or central or remote, except the security reasons and the file, the system location, the folder structure is still same. That is how the Maven is going to resolve the dependencies. Okay. So the next important thing is settings.xml. Okay. So why we need this settings.xml file, you know? For example, right now, if your organization, especially your group, in your organizations, we will have so many groups, right? Yeah, in your group, you are writing some 100 projects, 100 Maven projects. So how many number of pom.xml files will be there? If you create 100 Maven projects, yep, tell me.
100 Maven projects have 100
Maybe
pom.xml.
Are you sure?
That is separate Maven projects or
Yes, separate Maven projects.
yeah. For each Maven project, one pom.xml will be there.
Exactly. Right. So there are 100 number of pom.xml. So right now, each and every pom.xml file is going to have this repository. Okay. Right now, for example, today we are using Nexus remote repository. Okay. This is one of the repository provider. So we are using this Nexus remote repository. So tomorrow, all of a sudden, from Nexus to we are changing it to some other repository like JProg or something else. Okay. What is the impact? What is the huge impact? You have to modify all these 100 pom.xml files, right? You have to go and update all these 100 pom.xml. Okay, this is fine. You do one-time task. You feel comfortable. Okay, but there is something called like today you are using a Spring Boot version of 1.5.2, and tomorrow you want to upgrade it to Spring Boot 2.2.2. 2.0. So what will happen? You go and modify each and every component. Okay, so this is not the correct example. Sorry. Yeah, whatever I said, it's the correct example. So you go and modify the configuration in each and every pom.xml. Sorry, the Spring Boot you just erased it. Okay, that is a wrong concept. I got confused. Okay. Yeah. So this is the correct example. So you go and modify the configuration in each and every pom.xml file. Okay, and so this is a big problem, right? So maintaining a configuration in each and every pom.xml file, it is not at all a recommended approach, right? So what is a common configuration file which can handle all this? Instead of doing a change in each and every pom.xml file, if I change in one file, how does that is going to be help us to that is going to impact all the pom.xml file which are there in my system. Okay, so the best solution is settings.xml. The best solution is settings.xml. Okay, so if you maintain the settings.xml file, so this is the default configuration which is applicable for all the Maven project, Maven project. So which file? So for example, I want like out of 100 projects, 90 projects I want a common configuration. Okay, but for 10 projects I want a different configuration. For 10 files I want a different configuration. Or 10 projects. 10 files means 10 projects. 10 pom.xml. So wherever you want a different version or different flavor, there you can override the configuration. Okay, so wherever you want a different flavor, then you can override the form, that particular format. But where we need a common configuration, there the configuration can be kept inside settings.xml. So settings.xml file is nothing but a global configuration for your all projects inside your system. This is a global configuration. Pom.xml file is a local configuration or project specific configuration. Okay, if you maintain the settings.xml file, changing the repository, it is just a matter of a minute. You know, you just go and change the URL inside your settings.xml file. All the projects will get impacted. How we have static and instance. So settings.xml is going to be your static variable. You can just assume like that, right? And whereas the pom.xml configuration is your instance.
Snake,
Yeah.
here, right, if you change that setting.xml alone, no need to deploy all 100 projects, right? If 100 projects pom.xml I am going to change, I need to, rebuild and deploy it in the real time.
Yes, you have to rebuild the file.
Okay, but setting.xml if I change, no need to rebuild, right? That 100 modules.
Actually, you have to rebuild. But as we have build automatically feature in your Eclipse, right? Unless you have checked this option, any modification you do in your pom.xml file will automatically build.
No, I'll leave about here. Actually, my question towards, right? Let's take an example. My 100 modules already running in my QVR production. Okay. Now, if I want to change some this repository kind of stuff, right? Nexus to JFrog or some other thing. If I added this repository in my pom.xml for 100 projects, 100% I need to modify there. I need to build and deploy my QVR production.
Okay.
But if it's a setting.xml, it's going to be commonplace, right? Just to change alone, it's fine. Or again, I need to build that 100 modules and drop the QVR production.
Okay, so I will explain something that internally answer your question. Okay. Yeah. So you have to understand this. This is your local PC. Okay. So this is your local PC. Yeah. So you do the development in your project. Okay. So your local you will have the local repository. Okay. Your local system is going to have the local repository. So all the jar files will be downloaded into your local, and it will occupy some space, and it will be stored inside your cusers.m2 repository folder. Fine, done. Then, but all these jar files will be downloaded from a repository called remote repository. This one copy. So this is a single copy. For example, tomorrow one more developer added to your project, then he will get one more system, and his system is going to have again a local repository, and again all the jars will be downloaded into his local. Okay, so all the jars will be downloaded into his local, right? That is a local repository. But from where these jars will be downloaded, this will be downloaded from a remote repository. So there we have unique copy. So it will create one more copy and download it, and it will be kept inside each machine. Okay, done. So what you will do, you will your local testing purpose, you do some testing, you build it, you create a jar file, and you deploy in your local system, and you test it. This is the local environment. Okay, but we also have different environments called dev. Right? We also have different environments called dev. And we also have a different environment called QA, right? We also have a different environment called QA, production, pre-production, like that, right? So let's focus only on two main environments. Okay. So in your QA environment or in your dev environment, you will not have a local repository. Okay, you will not have local repository, no local repository, and you will not have no Maven installed. Okay, even the same thing applicable for, even the same thing is it's applicable for your QA environment, prod, pre-prod, how many environments you have, it doesn't matter. The same thing is it's applicable. Okay, so your local repo won't be there in your QA environment. It won't be there in your so no Maven installed in your QA. So where we will have this local and Maven installed, in between we have a place called your build environment. It's going to be changed from project to project. The most common thing is we will use Jenkins to build your code, right? So once your development is done, you push all your code to your SCM called Git, right? Nowadays everything is Git, that's why I'm saying Git. But similarly, like Git, we have so many SCM providers. We have from IBM, we used to have one thing, right? CC. I forgot that. ClearCase, yeah. Yeah, ClearCase is one version of Git. So once you're done with your local code, you will push the code into Git. So we will have one more system, which is your build system, right? So what it will do, it will take the code from your Git, okay, and it will try to build your code. While building your code, what it will do, it will download the repositories. So it will run the pom.xml file again. It will run the pom.xml file again. So it will download the files, jars which are required. It will download the jars which are required for your build to run, and it will maintain that local repository. So with this, your local repository is done. Okay, with this is the last place where you see the local repository. Once the code is moved to dev environment, QA environment, or some other environment, there you will not have the local repository. Okay, so it will download the required dependencies and it will generate a jar file or var file or ER file, which can be deployed directly on your environments. It can be dev, it can be QA, it can be prod, it can be pre-prod. So whatever it's going to generate, either it can be a jar file or var file or ER file, this file is going to have all the required libraries to run your application. How many libraries you are using, it doesn't matter. All those libraries will be wrapped inside the jar or ER or var. That's it. So your dev environment, it's a plain environment. There we will install the JVM. Okay, there we don't even install the complete JDK, only JRE, because we no need to compile Java files, right? We just need to run the Java files. So to run the Java files, JRE is enough. So there the JRE will be installed. And if you are using any server like Tomcat, WebLogic, WebSphere, right, that particular server will be installed. And your var file, jar file, ER file will be deployed into that server, and automatically your application will come up. Okay, so the settings file, the same thing. Now let's come back to your question. So where we will have the settings file, in which environment we will have the settings file? Most probably the settings file will be present inside your local machine and your build environment. So once you cross the build environment, no Maven, no local repository, no settings are executed. So this Maven is used to build your application, to generate a jar file, var file, ER file. Once you generate that, it's done. Maven task is done. Maven is no more going to be in the picture. We will kill that. Once you are done with a particular person in any movie or in any serial, right? They will kill that character. So similarly, we will kill the Maven character here. So no more Maven in the future. Again, if you want to have any new change, again the same thing. Okay, if you have to take the code, latest code, build that, fix that issue, push the code. Again, this code will be built in your Jenkins environment, and new jar, new var, new ER will be created. That new version of jar, var, ER will be deployed into your dev environment. So once you test all the changes, same ER will be promoted to your QA. So how they're going to take it? So whenever you are using Maven, right? Whenever you are using Maven, okay, in next few minutes we will discuss that, how this jar, the particular code will be deployed. Okay, so there is a concept called artifact. So with the particular version artifact, right, they will go to the repository. So they will deploy this here. Everything is tested fine. They will go and again deploy this the same version from here to here. Again, they will go and deploy into pre-prod. So they don't copy the same jar from one environment to another environment. That is a bad practice. They used to take it from, they have to take it from the artifact field, right? So they have to take this version and deploy. Everything looks good. Take the same copy, deploy and create. So that is the reason why we are maintaining the versions in the Maven. Okay, so if you change your settings.xml file in your local system, then that will work only for your local system, right? This is the user one. If you change if you modify settings.xml file in his system, that will only work for user one. If you change in user two system, that will work only on the user two system. If you change in build environment, that will work only for build environment. So settings.xml file will work only on that particular machine or a system, but instead of doing the changes in each and every form.xml file, if you change in a settings.xml file, that will give an impact to that particular system or machine. Did I answer your question?
Yes, we got it.
Okay. Yeah, very good question, Maya. Thank you. Just because of that, I covered this entire thing. Okay, so we're done with the repositories, settings.xml file. Yeah. So can we continue this tomorrow? Because I need 30 more minutes to complete this. So we have.
Welcome. We'll continue tomorrow.
About others. We need to. This is small topic like project structure, but life cycle is one thing which we have to focus. I mean, we will spend more time here. Then I will like end to end. I will tell what exactly this Maven is going to do, and this is one important thing: parent POM. Okay, Spring Boot will completely play with this parent POM itself. Without parent POM, you can't write a Spring Boot project. So we need to spend few minutes here. Then finally, multi-module. In microservices, multi-module concept is not there. But you must know. So these two are very important things. One is a parent POM, lifecycle. Parent POM, lifecycle. Okay, guys. We will continue tomorrow. Sorry, I think I'm going a bit slow, right? It's supposed to be completed in 1.5 hours.
In between, you are clarifying all questions also.
Yeah.
I think tomorrow it will take full session. That's what I'm assuming.
I think
we may having this kind of questions also.
Yeah.
Not about slower.
I thought the Maven is 1 day session, but it's taking 2 days. Yeah, but it's fine.
It's fine.
If we spend more time, it's fine, but we need to understand, right? If I'm going very fast.